Join me as I dive into the world of medieval romances and try to uncover the secrets of forbidden love that have been hidden for centuries. Today, you will delve into the fascinating world of medieval romances, exploring the themes of forbidden love that captivated hearts and inspired legends. There is a point at which parchment stops and theatre begins. The decree goes out with the commissaries hand public penance for fornication, adultery, defamation, clandestine marriage, irregularly kept. It is not jail. It is worse for people who must live among other people. The church says amendment. The street hears spectacle. You, if you mean to keep your love alive, must learn how to play without lying. The script is old. Sunday Mass, second bell. You stand bareheaded, women often barefoot and in a simple smock, hair down or under a plain veil, a wax candle thick as a wrist in your hands, the wick unlit until the vicar says, "The place is the church door or the chancel step, the eye line of every person you owe or irritate." Some dioceses add a white rod for the penitent to hold. Some make you wear a sheet over ordinary dress. Some rub salt in with a label on the breast naming the sin. The words, thankfully, are brief. "I confess I have sinned," in use the court's phrasing, "and I ask the prayers of the parish." Then the vicar touches flame to wick and prays for your soul with a voice that has practiced both thunder and mercy. You do not cry if you can help it. Tears make you pray. You do not smirk. That makes you meet. You do the three things that move a parish quicker than sermon. You stand straight. You speak clearly and you give. A poor box penny placed where hands can see it. A loaf sent to the widow. In the second week, a faggot left quietly at the old man's door. None of this is part of the sentence. All of it is part of the cure. People forgive when they are made comfortable. They remember when they are made hungry. Couples discovered charged and condemned together face a choice, one candle or two. Two looks like defiance or like equality depending on the town's temper. One looks like gallantry or conspiracy likewise. The safer choreography is near not touching. Stand where the priest can see both of you at once, where the gossip who most likes your downfall cannot say they sniggered and cannot say they were miles apart. You practice the words at home so you do not stumble and give a boy a rhyme for market day. If the sentence runs to triple penance 3 Sundays on the trot, you manage the intervals like a household project. You have allies at the door, Joan with a shawl to put round the woman's shoulders as she steps down. Will with a look that tells boys to go admire butter. You leave by the porch that keeps you from the ale bench's mouth, not because you are ashamed, but because you are alive. You do not go soft for theatre afterwards. No sudden feast, no loud laugh at the church style. You go home, eat what you would have eaten and mend what you would have mended. There is a holiness in ordinary the parish cannot bear to hate. Sometimes the penance includes a procession round the church in the ambulatory round the market, cross even for stubborn tongues. A barefoot walk to the parish boundary with the candle guttering at the wind. You take shoes out of sight and put them on as soon as the corner breaks, if frost will otherwise catch you a fever. Penance is not a right to kill. If the priest tells you to leave the shoes off, you ask him kindly whether he prefers the candle paid for or the doctor. Many vicars know real life. They say, Put them on once the porch is out of sight. Pilgrimage sometimes bolsters or replaces the show. The court writes Walsingham for fornication, Canterbury for defamation, a badge from Compostela if the penance smith is grand in his imagination. You carry a scallop or a tin shrine on your cap, and the badge says both sentence and passport. Lovers use this badly and well, badly turning the road into a second theatre of inns, hot hands the sin multiplied for the sake of a saint. Well, using the journey to cool talk and change stage leaving, as penitent, returning as mended, walking back into a house that has had time to forget how it liked the smell of scandal. If the vicar writes for you a testimonium, a slip, saying you have done what was ordered, pin it in your chest wrapped in a psalm leaf. A beadle who dislikes your face cannot argue with Latin under seal. The town has punishments of its own, older than parchment, and loved for their sound. Rough music charavarias, the parish's drum and pan. It comes for mismatches. Old groom, young bride, for cuckolds, for women who speak too freely, for men who keep too freely. It rides as a skimmington, sometimes a neighbour on a donkey, backwards, a lad in a horned cap, a puppet made of rags, named loudly for you. It is not law. It feels like justice to people who do not have to stand in the cold. How do you live through it without handing them your soul? First, pay no performance back. Do not fling the shutter or the word. A thrown pot begins a year-long sport. Second, borrow dignity. Put a candle in the window. Sit to your spinning. Let the cat on your lap. Cats are eloquent for innocence. Make the hearth look like work. Third, seed witnesses. Your best friends are moderate men, not zealots, not clowns placed where they can say under oath one day, they did not answer. Fourth, let someone else scold the boys. The woman who can shame them is the one who can also fetch their mother when fever comes. She will do it, and their pans will fall quiet sooner than a priest's hush ever managed. The cucking stool sits at the edge of this theatre reserved in many boroughs for common scolds and sometimes for bawds. Its dunkings are counted by custom. Its spectacle bites hotter than penance, because it is laughter pretending to be correction. If a court orders it for a woman whose only sin is love, her friends must alter the frame, make it seem too much like cruelty to be sport. The ale conner who lends a hand today finds half his custom vanish tomorrow. The smith who hammers the pin hears nothing for shoeing a week. Towns grin and grimace on the same day. Hit the grin with appetite, the grimace with hunger. Some decrees fuse reconciliation into correction. If the offense was defamation, the penance may include amende honorable. You stand at the door of the wronged candle in hand and say, I lied. If the wronged is your spouse, the court sometimes writes a line that mends bodies. You receive one another again before witnesses. This is mercy and craft. You give the parish something to watch that is not a bed. You give yourselves a stage to stand on when the next neighbor tries a verse. Shame is a season, not a sentence if managed. Here is what couples who survive learn to do. Own the verb. Say I sinned not if any were offended. Conditional penance feeds the dog again tomorrow. Shorten the run. If given a choice between 3 Sundays and a pilgrimage, take the walk if you can afford it. If not, compress shame into tight performances. Early, mass winter Sundays, the vicar warned not to dwell. Dress neutral, not rags, people hate mimicry, not finery, people hate joy, plain wool, clean hands, shoes tidy, a comb has as much theology as a homily, pay the poor smartly. Arms that look like strategy a loaf for the loudest mouths, mother work harder than arms that look random. Keep to schedule. When bells dictate public sorrow, let lists dictate private living wicks, wrung water fetched, accounts kept. Your order becomes the parish's new story. Guard the mouth. You do not discover your inner poet at the alla bench. The oath, juramentum calumnia, that you will not pursue out of malice, does not cover evenings. One clever jibe will cost 3 candles. Make a quiet joy. After the last penance, solemnize if the court asked. If it did not hold a small supper with decent neighbors. No songs, no claims, enough stew. Let people decide to be bored. And what of lovers who refuse? Some do. They flee to another parish, travel on pilgrimage until the clerk stops writing. Their names begin again under a curate with kinder ears. Sometimes it keeps them whole, often it keeps them poor. The ledger of fees knows how to travel. When they return for a burial or a christening, shame has matured like a cheese, smaller, stronger, oddly more respected. People admire stubbornness once it stops being noisy. The theatre ends. The parish gets hungry for something else. The vicar sets his mind back on roofs and candles. Your love is still the same shape as before the drum, but it has learned to carry itself differently. Less, leak, more spine. The next time a promoter knocks with the word farmer on his lips, he will find a house that knows its lines and will not improvise. When parish air turns sour and penance has spent what it can, the road offers a different medicine. To say we go to a saint is not a lie if your knees will meet stone and your lips a prayer. It is also a strategy. Pilgrimage is the one kind of public movement that looks like obedience while behaving like escape. It gives you time to cool talk, to cross jurisdictions, to become ordinary in another place. And it gives you cover badges, letters, and a tide of strangers that drowns a tale. Start with the paper that keeps beadles courteous. A testimonium from the vicar. These persons have fulfilled penance and go to St. Thomas. Our Lady of Walsingham folds, small, and sits inside a psalm leaf. A letter of confraternity from a guild or a fraternity of St. James adds company on the page. You are under a saint's wing and a guild's eye. Richer folk add a safe conduct Lord Abbot or borough seal naming road and weeks. Sheriffs prefer parchment to romance. If someone has cried hue and cry after you for raptus debt or sheer malice, a safe conduct will not stop a halberd. It can turn a cudgel into a question and a night in the stocks into a chat at the town gate. Next, the signs. Pilgrimage wears itself like livery. A staff with an iron spike, a scrip satchel on a strap, a hat with a badge at the brim, the ampulla of St. Thomas from Canterbury, the scallop shell of St. James, Our Lady of Walsingham in lead, St. Winefried's well in Wales stamped in tin, Cologne's blue glass fragment for the Three Kings, Rome's crossed keys. Badges are both passport and code. Inns know them. Bridges give a halfpenny discount for them. Beadles nod at them. Lovers use them without blasphemy. One badge outward, one back. The shell on the left, the ampulla on the right. A scrap of ribbon at the staff's thong that says, "Meet at the 3rd cross west of Norwich on the octave of St. Peter to the one soul who knows it." Do not travel like a duet on stage. Stagger your start by a day. Choose different gates. Agree stations where eyes go elsewhere. Wayside crosses, chapel porches. The bench outside a leper hospital where no one stares long. The road teaches a new humility. You are nobody in a stream of nobodies, which is the safest rank a lover can hold. Where to sleep, not the stews. You are pilgrims. Use hospitals. St. John, Holy Trinity Abbey. Guest halls, hostelers with a pilgrim painted on the signboard. The best houses keep separate pallets, a curfew, and a host who minds the purse strings more than your hands. Some inns keep books, who came whence when, and an entry in a tidy hand can save you later. On the eve of St. James, Alice of so-and-so lodged and paid 2 farthings for broth. A steward can sneer at romance. He cannot sneer at ink that matches a saint's day. If you must share a roof, put distance into the room, his pallet by the door, hers by the pegs. A curtain hung on a rope between. A chaperone hired with a bowl of pottage and told snore loudly. This is not dishonesty, it is discipline. You are trying to take desire out of your enemies' mouths and give it to God whose ears are better. The road has craft like the porch did. Walk in company a tinker with jokes, 3 women to St. Winefried, a palmer with a face like a map. Company is proof if later you must swear where you were. Learn the day's law, go out after prime in by dusk. Keep to king's highways where they exist. Ford only where others ford. Speak always of the saint, not of your business. If you must send a letter, use the old trick, a scrap folded into a psalm letter, locked with a slit and tuck, so any opener signs their theft with a tear. It should say nothing clever. I go, the octave of St. Peter, the door with ivy, the word, bread if danger. Poetry buys penance, plainness buys nights. You will meet pardoners with their tables, their glass of relics, their Latin that smells of stew. You may dislike them, you do not quarrel. Buy a short indulgence, a day off purgatory, for a day's quiet from men with trumpets. You will meet guides who offer short ways over bad ground. Refuse short ways, jurisdictions hide in thickets. Stick to the shrine roads, they have frith peace by custom, if not always by law, and a habit of help at mishap. How do you keep the pilgrimage from becoming only a ruse? By knees and coin. Kneel where others kneel. Light a candle. Give to the poor box beyond your vanity. Take a confessor who is not a fool, and say what you can say without entangling him in acts he cannot make. Tell God the straight bit. We want a lawful peace. Ask for it from the saint whose badge you wear. Say you will work toward it. Bands, witnesses, houses, separate if needed, mouths clean. If you cannot get a clean day inside, you will never get one outside. Calculated exile begins on the return. You do not go back by the same gate. The parish that loved your penance loves your return less. Instead, you drift like a reed on a tributary and fetch up in a market town 2 ridings away somewhere. Your surname is only a word and not a history. There you do 3 things that turn exile into settlement. First, you name a trade. A man brings a tool to the bench and a guild name on his tongue. A woman brings a skill spinning, brewing, midwifery, patching, and a neighbor who will say she's useful. Guilds can be prickly about strangers. They are plainer on work. Pay quarterage, stand to the watch, turn up at the muster when the beadle calls, and your bed becomes furniture instead of gossip. Second, you borrow kin. Godparentage is the poor person's alliance. Present a child for baptism with a respectable pair at the font. Stand for another's a month later. Make a square of obligations round your house. A godfather will stand in court sooner than a friend. A godmother will pluck a drumstick from a rough musician's hand. If there is no child, choose neighbors with bread in their oven and offer yeast. People who share leaven share stories, and the first story they tell of you should be dough. Third, you tidy your paper. If the court at home ordered solemnization, do it here with banns and blessing under a curate who likes order and fees. If there was only penance, bring the testimonium and let the hosteler see it by chance. Buy a new badge at the local shrine and hang it by the doorless boast, more alibi. When a promoter asks a question, you answer, ask Father John. He has our names in his book. Books like to speak to books. Inns that keep secrets choose you as much as you choose them. A cook shop that feeds clerks. A bridge hermitage where a quiet man mends sandals and news. A ferry where the boatman asks only if you can bail. Pay fare, leave early, tidy your bed of straw yourself. Today's hosier may be tomorrow's witness, and a witness begins as a person who liked your manners. There are darker uses. Some carry false badges, pretend vows, and run smuggling of souls wards, runaways, debtors with nimble feet. You do not want their road. If forced to walk a mile beside it, keep your name closed and your temples open. A word dropped by a man in such company today becomes a libel tomorrow in a court that prefers to punish two with one fee. And if you fail, if the sheriff finds you at a cross with your hat full of pins and Jeffreys, cousin points and the old song begins, then you use the last trick of honest ruses. You stop, kneel at that cross, light a splinter of a candle and say the name of the shrine aloud. Make theatre for God where men meant to make it for you. When you rise, you will still have to answer questions. You will answer them as a pilgrim, not a fugitive. It is not invincibility. It is a frame, and frames save pictures when walls shake. By the time the scallop dulls and the lead ampulla's loop wears thin, you may find you no longer need them. Your name sits in a new tithing. Your tools live by the bench. Your feet know the market stones. You have not cheated heaven. You have used the only honest crooked line on the map devotion to write yourselves into another chapter without tearing the page. You have learned to walk roads and doors. Now you must learn paper, which is slipperier than ice. Lovers think a letter is privacy made portable. Courts think a letter is a witness that does not get bored. Between those hopes sits your craft. You will keep a forbidden love alive by writing just enough to feed it, and not one word more that a scribe can turn into a rope. Begin with the materials because they betray you first. Ink is usually iron gall-bold, brown-black permanent. It will not blush and fade when a promoter holds it up in church. Pens squeak, margins tell tales. Choose a hand that looks like anybody's, the small, neat Anglicana of a clerk, the rounder book hand of a pious niece. If you write in your own untidy scrawl, and the scrivener who sells you pins sees it twice, he has a story to sell. Better yet, borrow a hand dictate to a trustworthy, pen midwife's lad chantry clerk with a hungry mother, and stand over his shoulder to prune adjectives. Do not rely on seals. A pretty blob of wax with a bird in it feels like safety. It is only announcement. Seals crack, signets repeat. Impressions are kept like curios. Use a dreeper, purposeless tear of wax on a corner and a scribble through it, so any opening makes a scar you can point to later. And always, letterlock fold, slit and tuck, pleat and pierce, wrap and thread. If someone slips a knife in the tear, tells on them. Do not trust men who say they can open any fold clean they can. That is why you use 2 folds and 1 tucked tab. What not to write is more important than what to write. Never set down. I take you, that is a marriage. I will take you, that is a pre-contract. After harvest at the stile, that is time, place, and evidence. Do not write names, write devices. You are the hawthorn because hope. He is the mill race because he hurries. The go-between is the thimble because she fits where a finger cannot. Do not name parishes, name saints' days. On the eve of St. Luke says enough to a lover and not enough to a libel. Write in layers. The outer sense must be blameless. For that, put your word inside a text that nobody destroys, a psalm leaf, a scrap from a book of hours. A page of God's prayer copied badly. Between the lines, write small and straight. Then, if you like embroidery, add a second message as an acrostic, first letters down the margin, A-L-I-C-E. Do not gild cleverness. Cleverness feeds beetles. A better trick is the herb code, which a judge cannot counterfeit into Latin. The rue is strong this week, regret delay. Bring rosemary, remembrance meet. Hawthorn is in bud, hope, yes. Tie the sprig to the fold, and no scribe can prove you said anything but garden. As for cipher, keep your ambition small. Merchants use substitution tables when they price pepper. Kings hire men with 2 alphabets and too much time. Lovers need speed and memory. Agree 3 shifts in ordinary talk. A stands for D, count 3, E for H, and so on. In danger, B to F, count 4. For run, write every second letter only, and dot each omitted letters, place with a pinprick. You won't write a treatise, you will hide a day. Latin is a cipher to half your neighbours. Veni ad limen, come to the threshold is better than come at dusk, and less exciting to a promoter's ear. Never write hot. Ink makes heat eternal. If you must pour worship onto the page, pour it into motto. The old posy on a ring, mon cœur entier. Dame, je vous tiens. As reward is reason, as volumes with no dates. A line of verse in a vernacular hand can be dismissed as song. A line of promise in a plain hand is marriage to any clerk who wants his fee. Choose carriers like tools. Children are nimble, but talk in their sleep. Priests have seals in their souls, but wives in their kitchens. Peddlers walk through doors nobody marks. Midwives knock at hours nobody questions. A minstrel can own a folded song and be believed. pay with use, not coin thread, a warming stone, a favor at harvest. Put the message where the carrier won't boast about it, tucked under binding cord of a girdle book, sewn into the hem of a cap, slipped into the straw plait that keeps a jar's lid firm. If you must trust a scrivener, stand over him and cut away the dangerous words as he writes. Make him read it back, then pay him with the story about someone else. Guilt like ink spreads by capillarity. Calendars are safer than clocks. Right when the bell for Compline goes strange, your curate's cough lames it, and the wind is in the ash. Right after the poor have had their loaf on Friday. Do not write at midnight. The court loves midnight like a child loves pastry. Your letter is a witness you cannot cross-examine, so you give it dumb alibis. Smear the fold lightly with flour paste and press in a dusting of pounce ground cuttlefish bone. If opened, the powder disappears and leaves a clean patch you can swear to. Put one long hair across the fold before you seal. It will not lie twice the same. Prick one hole through 3 layers. If someone flattens and refolds, the holes won't meet. These are not theatrics. They are survivals when the promoter smiles. Do you admit this letter? You say I admit the outer. The inner is not as I wrote, and show the mended wound. Destroying letters is an art for the practical and the patient. Do not burn. Smoke tells stories. Do not toss into running water. Boys fish for fun and priests for parables. Tear to long fibers, rub into mash, boil into paste. Spread thin on the hearthstone and let it dry like spilled porridge. Then scrape it up as dust. Or write on wafers of starch. Some cooks make them for sealing, so the message can be eaten if the beadle knocks before desserts. Save one thing, only the outer leaf with the pious text and nothing dangerous inside it. It will make the promoter yawn if he comes again, which is more mercy than you deserve. Sometimes you cannot help leaving a trail. Then you muddy it. Write 2 identical notes with harmless content and send them by 2 different carriers. If one is opened, the other delivered, makes the beadle look like a hungry child at an empty dish. Or send 3 messages with different meeting signs, turn up at the second. Gossips love a first and last. They seldom keep the middle in their mouths. You will be tempted by invisible ink milk and lemon tales from sailors. Leave that to the next century's cleverness. In these years, the surest steganography is habits. Count prayer beads to talk 3 decades. For yes, 2.5 for no, 4 for danger. Plat rush with a pattern over under means tonight. Over under means wait. Stitch red thread twice in the hem for 2 days. Courts cannot make Latin of that. How do letters die in court 3 ways? Authorship proved by the man who wrote for you. Delivery proved by a carrier you underpaid. Meaning proved by context you gifted to your enemies with a detail you added for poetry. You will survive by keeping the verb away. Describe nothing that sounds like an act. Fill with nouns that mean little to everyone but you. The hawthorn will not be cut this week. The mill race runs slow. The thimble pricks. A judge can grow angry at nonsense. He cannot fine a rose. There is a tally trick older than ink. Take a hazel stick. Cut notches to mark day and place. Split the stick lengthways. Each keeps a half. When the halves meet and the nicks match, a messenger is true. When they do not, you are not fooled by a cousin with a borrowed cap. Tally halves live in sleeve linings and shoe soles, where beadles seldom preach. Let letters be rare. Lovers wilt without talk, they do not die. You keep the pulse with one line sent once a week on market day with the hens, a loaf to Joan, rosemary for Will. It is a calendar for the heart, fill the rest with work. Spinning wheels hum wiser love songs than clerks do. Remember, always, a book is a room you can be dragged into after death. Keep your hand light, your folds honest, your herbs, talking your saints busy, and your carriers fed. Write for now, not for history. History will not kiss you back. You have learned to write light and fold clever. Now meet the men and moments made to unmake you. Interception and forgery are the law's dirty cousins, an apparitor with a good ear and a better knife. A rival with a planted ring and a scrivener for hire. A cousin with tidy Latin and untidy conscience. The trick is not never to be caught, no one achieves that, but to make a caught thing useless. How interception really happens. Not in cloaks and midnight only. It happens at the city gate where beadles finger satchels for the king's peace. It happens at the bridge when the tollman weighs your purse and your luck. It happens in the cook shop when a carrier sets his bundle down and a boy with sharp eyes and dull morals slips your folded scrap into another sleeve. Worst of all, it happens in law's own shadow. An apparitor serving a citation spies the letter lock in your scrip, smiles like a cat, and for custody of scandals, slides a thin blade under a flap. He is careful. He has done this 5 years and never signed his theft with a tear. First countermeasure chain of custody in miniature. You cannot stop all hands. You can force the letter to tell on them. Use 2 folds of different kinds, lit and tuck inside, pleat and pierce outside. So a single knife cannot cheat both. Layer long hair across the inner fold before you drip wax. It will not lie twice the same if someone reseats it. Prick a constellation, 3 pinholes in the corner through 3 layers. Misalignment later says intruder cleaner than any speech. Dust the inner flap with a breath of pounced cuttlefish. If opened and brushed, it leaves a clean kiss you can point at in court. The powder is gone. None of this makes you innocent. It makes a promoter nervous. Second, make interception boring. Never put a verb a court loves on paper. If a knife opens your fold and finds, "I take you," you have given your enemies probatio pleniful proof without their breaking sweat. If it finds rosemary on St. Luke, the apparitor yawns and saves his knife for a better purse. Keep letters so thin that even your shame cannot swallow them whole. Forgers thrive on gaps. Give them fewer. A rival will plant a ring in your chest and swear he gave it in a porch. Another will hire a scrivener to pen your hand and date it, last Lammas. A third will bring a tally half that fits because he cut his to your pattern after a glimpse in the alehouse. They need only semi-plena probatio half-proof if they can add a lick of farmer. 3 men saying we heard, and 1 trinket can turn summer into a suit. Break the planted token. Rings speak. Make them say your truth, not theirs. Before you ever wear a posy ring, nick a witness mark where no one looks under the hoop. 2 tiny cuts you and the goldsmith can swear to. Note the hallmark and maker's mark. Not all towns use them, many do, and wardens of the craft like to recite them under oath. Keep the goldsmith's tallier splinter of hazel with notches matched to his book. If a rival waves your ring with no nick and a lying mark, you bring the warden who says, "I did not strike this." If the nick is there, you answer with sequence. It was given after present words in the porch, and make your witnesses sing the hour. Break the false hand. Handwriting experts are a later century sport, but scriveners and notaries can tell their own geese from strangers. If a letter is laid to you, demand exhibitio instrument a production of the principal, not a copy. Insist on publication reading of depositions if it helps. Resist it if it lets liars learn your tune. Then pull the thread, who sold the parchment, which inksome shops cut gall with sugar, and it browns differently, whose penknife left that edge. Did the letter carry a notarial sign, a notary's looped mark? If so, which notary and where is his protocol book for the day? England is less notarial than Lombardy. The ecclesiastical courts still lean on men who make instrumenta publica, and such men hate to have their sign faked. Summon the man and let him scowl. A forged notarial note is infamia for life to the forger. Even an apparitor steps back from that flame. Trap the tidy liar. Rival Geoffrey. Every village breeds one flourishes a pre-contract letter. I will take you at Martinmas. It is di futuro. He needs a bed after to bind you. If he cannot prove the copula, the letter is a threat, not a marriage. Demand the other half of proof. Force him into the ugliest suit he cannot win. If he produces witnesses, later, attack distance and light. Were they within 6 feet? Was it dusk? Had they drunk? Were they interested? Kin enemies hired? The court discounts. Dicit de auditu, he says from hearing. Make the scribe write those words on every suspect mouth. Baffle the knife with decoys. When danger grows, ahead send a pair of letters with innocent content by 2 carriers. If one is opened and the other delivered, the beadle looks a fool and thinks twice before boasting in court. Or send 3 messages with different meeting signs and go to the second. A trap with 2 springs annoys boys and apparitors alike. Tidy the moment of seizure. If a letter or token is taken from you, do not let it wander through hands until it becomes legend. Ask politely, loudly, that it be kept sealed and brought to court unbroken. Courts like form. Use it. My lord, let the scribe note the seal was whole at delivery. The pricks aligned. If the promoter has already opened it, make him wear the theft. Please note the tear. Then turn cool. I will answer to articles. This drags your case from the broad river of the oath ex officio fishing to the stepping stones of positions, single questions with true or not true answers. Knives like rivers. Stepping stones break their stride. Guard your carriers from perjury and yourself from them. Underpay a messenger and he will sell your tale. Overuse a messenger and he will believe himself your author. Pay by use a pair of shoe soles, a place by your hearth in winter, not coin that glitters under lanterns. Teach one carrier only one route and only one sign. Never let a single mouth hold your system. If that mouth is hauled before a commissary, his ignorance will save you more than his loyalty. Meet forgery with theatre better than theirs. A planted ring found in your chest. Call the searcher theft. They broke my coffer without hue and cry. They came without reeve or constable. Borrow courts, respect process. Men who love cheats hate being told they cheated badly. A false tally matched to yours. Produce your half kept in a shoe sole and show how the notches run long to short, where his run short to long. Tallies are like fingerprints with splinters. A jury of honest men can see a cheat without Latin. Keep your own garden clean. Some plots rot from within. Lovers forge for themselves when fear outruns sense a boy. Pens de presenti to prove a porch that never happened. A girl overwrites a date to move a belly back 2 saints. These are felonies of paper. If you are caught, you buy not a wedding but penance, plus a note in the act book that stains everything you ever swear to for a decade. Better a half win by truth than a felted noose by clever. Use the law's snobbery. When a forged instrument shows its face, ask for notaries and wardens and clerks of the craft. Bring the goldsmith, the leather dresser, the parchmenter. Make the court look up and down the social stairs. It prefers evidence that smells of work. Let wardens talk their shop until the judge's eyelids drop. Your rival's romance wilts under weights and measures. Aim for mistrial by muddle deliberately. If the enemy's case leans on a letter, you want the court to doubt provenance, to tangle itself in dates, to chew on publication. Shall we read the depositions until Lent arrives and tempers cool? Ask for delays you can justify. Harvest sickness, a witness at the mill 3 villages off. The scribe will sigh, the promoter will scowl, and time will pat your shoulder like a grandmother. Many a case dies of fatigue, eyes of. Lastly, invert the knife. Should you catch your rival planting or opening rare, luck make their scandal the story. File at once for defamation, and viet armis force and arms if they broke a coffer. Demand public penance for lying. Force them to stand with a candle. Your enemies are brave at night and sticky-fingered. They are less brave in daylight with wax dripping on their knuckles. Thomas and Alice, remember them, did not stay pure by being saints. They stayed safe by making every court thing talk wrong. The one letter ever opened bore nothing but herbs and a saint's day, and 3 pinpricks that didn't align when it came back. The ring Geoffrey tried to plant had no nick under the hoop and a maker's mark from a smith who had died 5 winters before. Will Carter knew. He'd shod the dead man's mare. The apparitor learned to keep his knife for other purses. The commissary learned to prefer minutes to melodrama. The village learned to hum a different tune. You will not avoid every blade. You can teach your paper and your trinkets to bleed the right color when they are cut. Do that, and a scrap stays a scrap, not a noose. Market day is where love remembers its manners. No porches, no knives in folds, no apparitors yawning in doorways, just sun on trestles, the clack of a balance, and a town pretending that all exchange is honest. If you're clever, you can carry a forbidden courtship from 1 week to the next without a single letter, and everyone will swear you never spoke of anything but onions. Begin at the bench. Trade has its ritual words. Measure struck weight lawful God's penny. Each is a veil. The lover who sells malt gives God's halfpenny back with the change one small coin that accidentally rides the other way, blessed in name, aimed in fact. The buyer, your girl says, God reward pockets the coin and the beadle can only nod. Piety is a ledger line no court disputes. Do this rarely and evenly. Largesse that grows fat turns quickly into maintenance, unlawful favor, and tongues sharpen. The measure itself speaks. A size says, strike it level. You may once in a week leave one good thumb of heaper kindness, too small to look like price and big enough to say yes. The clerk of the market hates cheats. He tolerates humanity when it looks like God's portion. Reverse the roles and your girl sells apples. She lays one extra for luck on the trench, never the best, never the worst, so no one hawks a tale about a woman buying with her face. If a rival counts your heaps aloud, call for the gauge rod yourself. Honest noise is better than sly silence. Use herbs as you use them in letters. A sprig of rosemary tied to a string of onions. Remembrance. I'm there. A touch of rue on a cheese, regret not today. Bay threaded into a hen's feet, victory won that quarrel. Herbs belong in baskets, not act books. The ale conner can dip his thumb in your brew and scowl. He cannot indict a garland for talking. Credit is conversation written in chalk. Every alehouse and a dozen cookshops keep a tally board or a slate. A mark under a name is shot score. A wiped line is mercy. If you love someone whose purse is thin and pride thicker, don't slap coin on the counter for the lady that buys her a year of lampoons. Wait till noon when the bench is busy. Ask the host quietly to clear 3 marks for the miller's, her mother's line perhaps, and add 2 to yours. 2. The host loves arithmetic that nets even. The lane loves a mystery it can't prove. If asked later, you say, we settled after the church ale. People prefer a tidy tale to a true one. Some debts live out of doors, rent of a stall, quarterage to the guild. A gate, rent for the path behind her house, a fine for being late to the watch. These are the safest gifts because they look like order. Speak to the beadle first, I owe the town for my delay. Put the miller's name on my penny. He shrugs, writes and swallows gossip with your coin. If you settle a guild due her father's bench, do it at the chapter, when all pay your coin drops in a common box under the warden's eyes. Secret kindness, dressed as civic neatness. Now the guild feast that bright, dangerous table. Rank shows itself above and below the salt. Glances travel faster than trenches. A song can hang a man. Feed your courtship with service, not spectacle. If you pour wassail, you pass her cup first within your quarter and no further. The steward will grin, custom covered what courtesy intended. Send no gifts of capons down table. You are not a king, but you may trade trenches with a joke. This one was burnt. Take the better. And she answers, bread is bread. And the third person at your elbow laughs, which is how witnesses are made without oaths. Beware the songs. You can choose one that says something only to 2 of you. A verse with hawthorn, if that is your device, but never push a refrain that says a state. I took her at the stile into a hall with a scribe at the high board. Toast the saint of the craft. Leave love to walk home under its own cloak. Church ales and guild ales feed both souls and stories. They also furnish errands. Volunteer for the ale tasters' round or the bread warden's walk. It is the surest way to knock on a door without being called a night walker. If she minds the common oven, you line up with your dough at a time agreed by nothing but habit. The oven mouth is a courtroom of sorts, names, chalked marks cut in loaves. You cut too short, one long on yours, and she cuts one long too short. No scribe can condemn a baker's code. Alchemy of gifts, keep it convertible. A ribbon is a scandal in a chest. A skein of thread becomes work and disappears into a sleeve seam. A girdle is a lampoon, a girdle iron. The tool that kept it honest is a kindness the mistress praises aloud. A posy ring is a case. A posy carved on a bread peg is a smile that burns after use. If you must redeem a pawned thing her cloak in a lean month, send the widow you both trust with the coin and have her bring it home after dusk with 3 words and no theatre. The lane blesses widows for minding heat. It forgets to curse the hand that warmed it. Seating is a language. At a feast, you don't sit too near, and you never sit outside your rank to make a point. You trade the salt, once you pass mustard twice, and that is all the grammar required to say, I see you, and you are safe. People read elbow distance more keenly than verse. If she is serving you, make her work easy. Turn a board, fetch a ewer, and let 3 other eyes witness. Use not touch. The market cross is its own theatre. Preachers thunder, pardoners rattle port reeves, read fines. Your courtship there is alms. You put coin in the poor box when she is watching, not for pride, but to say, our story won't starve someone else. She does the same next week. That rhythm feeds you more than swagger, and it gives your harshest neighbor a script kinder than the one he brought from his bed. Risks plenty. Overgiving looks like buying, undergiving looks like coldness. Worst of all is the pattern the parish can hum. Vary your kindness. Measure this week tallywipe, next bread peg after. Keep counter gifts moving. She sends a small rushlight to your mother. You send yeast to hers. Reciprocity is the town's favorite theology. It forgives what it can calculate. Avoid private coin pressed into private hands in public space. That is the shape of seduction in every lampoon. Always let a third thing eat the kindness, a guild box, a poor box, a rent purse, an oven fee. If challenged, you point at the third thing, and the challenger must argue with the town, not you. A last trick, old and decent godparentage disguised as charity. Sponsor a poor child at baptism, and she stands as godmother to the same. You two must hold it lightly in public. Godkin makes lovers awkward in canon, but the kinwork it breeds visits gifts. Small Sundays gives clean errands. Keep the line, no jokes about compadres, no boasting about compaternity. Let the priest see you sober at the font. You are weaving obligation, not romance, in the cloth everyone will wear. You will be tempted to make a gesture, a feast, a song, a caprice of cointo, shout over the hum of the town. Don't. Daylight courtship lives on habit. A bench looks innocent because it is boring. A guild feast pardons glances because it loves order. You feed love with small repeatable acts, the struck measure with the thumb's mercy, the chalk wiped and written again, the cup passed quickly and well, the oven token cut honest, the herb in the basket, the box fed, and you stop before anyone can write a couplet that ends with your name. When letters are dangerous and nights are watched, commerce is your cloak and your cradle both. Do it tidily, and you will get a year of minutes strung like beads without ever once giving a promoter a verse he can sing in court. You can't argue a village into silence. You can enlist it. The trick now is to turn spectators into gossips, in the older sense godsib's kin by a font and a promise, so that when trouble knocks the street answers for you, not about you. That work is done in daylight and under seals at christenings over cradles before wardens in the sheriff's book. Begin where names are written in oil and water baptism. The rite is brisk salt on the tongue, breath and sign water 3 times chrism on the brow, a white cloth, a taper, and around it the parish arranges a small treaty. Godparents stand by custom 2 women and a man for a girl, 2 men and a woman for a boy. Choose them like you'd pick oaths, steady, solvent, unsentimental. They should be the sort who can say in court if need be, I was there. And the sort whose knock at a door makes boys stop their pans. Mind cannon's teeth while you're making honey. Spiritual kinship is an impediment a godparent may not marry a godchild. Godparents to the same child are spiritually akin to one another. You do not make each other god-kin. If you are lovers who may yet need the curate's blessing, do not tie a knot the law can use to trip you. Do not pick your confessor. He already has a seal that keeps his hands tied. Do not pick a person under public penance. Ink clings. The naming is a chance to place a flag without waving it. Choose a saint's name with local roots, the one windows show. A parish that hears Agnes in glass will forgive an Agnes at table. The present is small coiner silver penny for the child. Gossips ail after, but the ledger you keep is in favors. The midwife becomes aunt. The godfather becomes a man who takes your side before you ask. The godmother becomes the sort who borrows the child for a nap when the street is on a drum. Use the christening ale to distribute quiet lore. Invite the beadle and the church wardens to drink first. Let the ale conner taste and praise. Seat the curate where the draught is kindest and his temper softer. Toast the font, not yourselves. If anyone sings a wicked stave, you pour the cup over the fire and make a joke of steam. Later that man will swear you didn't bite, which is better than any libel. Next, fostering, not the romance of nobles trading heirs, but the workaday custom that moves children where they will thrive, and mothers where they can sleep. Send a little one to a wet nurse, or to a cousin with a quiet back room. Later, bind an older child as a servant or apprentice in a house that owes you. This is not banishment. It is distributed care. A child in another kitchen gives you a door you may use without scandal, and a voice in that street to answer no when someone tries a song with your name. When you indenture a child to a craft, write more than teach and keep. Add 2 lines your proctor would applaud, that the master shall keep the apprentice from night walking and from slanders, that the master shall produce the child healthy and clothed at parish and court when called. Such words have a way of catching the eye when a beadle wants to be lazy. Pay the entry fine in small installments, a warden's meeting apart. Every coin buys you another minute of public goodwill. Now to surety is the village's habit of turning promises into ropes round several wrists. In borough and manor, you will meet main Perner's men who pledge your appearance and bourse tithing fellows bound for your peace. When tempers run hot after a defamation suit after rough music nearly started, step forward with recognizances. Before the mayor or steward you acknowledge yourself. Bound 40 shillings, say, to keep the peace toward named enemies for a year and a day. 2 friends stand surety for you, and your enemies do the like. It looks like surrender. It works like a truce with teeth. If anyone breaks the immersement, bites the purse that boasts the loudest. There is a more delicate craft, the arbitration bond. Feuds eat coin faster than love ever did. Find 2 arbiters. The parish respects, one from each side write a chirograph, an indenture cut in 2, chirographum, across the tear, and bind both parties to whatever the arbiters award a public apology, a poor box gift, silence under pain of excommunication or fine. People will endure a wrong, they will not endure endlessness. Give them an end they can swallow. You can also draft the village into witnessing without theatre. Make mutual oaths that look like work. We 2 promise to keep the watch together for St. John's Eve. We 2 will carry wood for the church ale and stand surety that no one brawls. When the promoter later mutters about farmer, a dozen men will say, I saw them do things the parish likes. Courts tire of punishing useful people. God parentage ripples into gossip rights, the clean kind. A godsib may visit without a drum. A godsib may carry a child across lanes where a lover would be remarked. A godsib may send broth across a quarrel without being accused of buying virtue by the ladle. Use those corridors. Keep them busy enough to stay open and random enough not to make a pattern a beadle can hum. Bind yourselves into a frank pledge where it still lives, the tithing that answers for 10 households. Turn up at view a frank pledge when the steward calls it. Pay the head penny early. Offer to mend the stocks and the pinfold. Frank pledge is a dull machine with a bright secret collective responsibility cuts both ways. If you are of good rule, your 10-man will say so. If someone lies about you, he lies about them. And a man will spend 2 hours at harvest to avoid that sort of foolishness. Trade gives you another knot confraternities. Many towns keep a brotherhood of the Holy Trinity of Corpus Christi of Our Lady. They are half pious, half practical candles for processions, dinners for members, alms for the ill, a bier for the dead. Join, pay, carry a light on days when lights are counted. Confraternity lists are soft charters, names in order. Names the mayor reads kindly. Names the beadle will not wish to drag to the stocks together. When oaths are needed, make them short and public. Avoid swearing never to slander too broad. Someone will test it. Swear not to call ex-adulterer narrow. Courts like it. Avoid swearing private marriage in writing. You know by now why. Swear peace at the cross with 3 men listening. Let the scribe write. Take copies and tuck one behind the pilgrim badge by your lintel. Paper is proof. display is memory. There is a backward step that is sometimes forward churching. After childbed, a woman returns to church for a blessing. Bring her with 2 godzibs and no drama. Put a penny in the poor box. Let the curate speak soft. If tongues try a verse, your godsibs will stare them down. The ritual gives the parish a picture it prefers to the one it carried. Woman-child godkin curate's hand and replaces scandal with sequence in minds that like order more than truth. If you must move house, take your kinwork with you. Ask your godfather to write 2 lines to a tithing man in the next parish. Have your confraternity steward name you to the bedel there. People who recognize a name are kinder to its bearers. Your recognizance to keep the peace has reach across rivers when seen by a mayor who once drank with your surety at a fair. None of this means you won't meet a day when a cousin grows theatrical or a rival grows clever. It means that when he tries, he will find godparents at your table, sureties on your bench, arbiters with chirographs in their sleeves, a beadle who remembers your watch, a guild that counts your quarterage, and a tithing that prefers its own peace to his fun. He will discover that the parish he hoped was an audience is now cast and crew, and that the part he wanted has been written smaller. Keep the ledger of your kinmaking tidy. Don't overuse one ally. Don't make spiritual impediments carelessly. Don't confuse charity with purchase. Give bread because people must eat. Give surety because people must sleep. Ask witness only when you have given both, and rehearse in your head the sentence that has saved more lovers than law. Ask the book, the font book, the mayor's roll, the guild list, the arbitration chirograph. Make your village into pages and scandal becomes a reader without a library card. It starts like most storms do for nothing that can stand up in court. A shove at the market bench, Geoffrey's mouth full of last year, a cup too warm, a tune too pointed. Someone knocks a trencher, someone says cuckold too loud, then the foolish word that turns quarrel into a fray, thief. The old law knows only one answer. The cry goes up, out, hue and cry, and the street becomes a net. Doors spit men. The beadle finds his staff. The tithing man remembers he is a spine, not a hat. You do not get to vote. The parish has already raised itself. Your first discipline is not to run. Running writes guilt. No scribe could write better. Stand, show empty hands. Say aloud, the old insurance, I keep the peace. Godkin move first, because that is what you recruited them for. Joan, godmother to your child, plants herself between bodies and noise palms up, voice steady. None strike, none name. We go to the cross. She does not remonstrate, she relocates. The quarrel is dragged from alley to market cross, from rumour to a stone with authority baked into it. The beadle partial to noise likes a cross. It tells him where to stand. Sequence saves you from felony. If a blow has landed and blood has answered, cry breach of the peace, not revenge. Call the coroner if the wound is bad, not the cousin with a cudgel. If goods were said to be taken, demand view. Show me the stolen thing and do it now in public. Hue and cry is for fresh pursuit of a real felony. Make the parish admit there is no felony to chase. A spilled cup is no theft. A ring missing from a chest searched without constable or reeve is viet armis on the searchers, not larceny on you. Frank pledge does the next part if you taught it how. Your tithing man steps up. These are of good rule in my 10, he says, and puts a hand on each of you like a knot. He offers main prizeman of the tithing pledge to bring you to law on the morrow. That turns chase into custody by word, which decent beadles prefer. It puts your enemies in the position of arguing against the village's own machinery. But today, the storm has a second act. The sheriff rides in before dinner, writs in his fist and county blue in his voice. He has been fed by Geoffrey's kin with paper, a capias, to take bodies in a plea of trespass, viet armis force, and arms, an attachment for disobeyed summons, in a ravishment of ward, whisper they keep in a chest, and a precept to keep the king's peace. He likes fees, dislikes disorder, and despises parish sagas. You meet him with documents, not tears. First on the table your recognizance to keep the peace, 40 shillings acknowledged before the mayor last Whitsun, 2 sureties named. You recite it as if it were creed bound to keep the peace toward Geoffrey and his. The sheriff knows what to do with recognizances he can bind over again, enlarge the sum, take sureties on the spot. Your men, Will the warden of the goldsmiths, the beadle, you fed at the christening ale step forward with purses and names. The sheriff discovers he can convert fury into bonds without drawing his sword. He prefers bonds. Second on the table, the chirograph of arbitration you made when the last round of songs got teeth. 2 copies edge-toothed, where chirographum was cut on, you kept one the arbiters held. The terms read dull and splendid, silence for a year and a day, amends by poor box, no lampoons, no night walking. You ask the sheriff to take cognizance of it while he is here. He cannot try it, but he can enforce the promise by threatening amerciaments if either side breaks again. He enjoys the sense of being king for an hour. He is. Third testimonia from the vicar, penance done. Solemnization ordered next feast. Plus the guild list, with your quarterage ticked in the warden's hand. These are not shields, they are weights on your side of the scale. Sheriffs prefer men who anchor a street. Geoffrey presses his luck. He waves a letter and attempts pre-contract music. He shouts raptus of wife, though his wife exists only in ale and envy. You have rehearsed this play. Your proctor, you fetched him when the beadle fetched the sheriff. Speed is half of safety, says very politely. My lord sheriff, those are for consistory. Your writ bites breach of the peace. We stand ready to find mainpeners. He pulls the sheriff onto the narrow bridge of his writ and off the reed bed of Geoffrey's story. If the sheriff must take you, because writ says capias plain, or because Geoffrey's kin make a crowd that promises a worse morrow, you ask for the least ruinous custody. Not jail if there is any house of Sharetia respectable roof where men can lie in ward with a keeper. Not irons if you have bales to post. Not a cart that will parade you like venison. You ask for view of your wounds if blows were struck. You ask for view of the stolen goods. You ask for record let the scribe write the condition of the seals on the letter Geoffrey, flourish the misaligned pricks on your fold, the lack of reeve at his chest search. Sheriffs disdain romance, but they respect record. It smells like fees kept tidy. While this theatre plays your godkin work the edges. The godfather posts to Geoffrey's mother with a pot of broth and a sentence, no deaths today. You'll want me when there's a christening. The godmother gathers women and stands between boys and pans. This is not sentiment, it is crowd control by candle and cat. The beadle no fool sees a parish cooperating with law and decides to carry the sheriff's staff, not Jeffrey's flag. If there was blood, the coroner must sit. You do not hide, you call him. He takes inquest. 12 neighbors sworn on the how of the wound. 2 facts matter: who began and who continued. You put forward non-resistors. They swear to, I held him, I spoke the peace, and the coroner writes defense, not malice. If a death comes of it later, God forbid those words are the plank between felony and misadventure. If there was no blood, the coroner goes home cross and hungry. Better that than eloquent. Night falls. The sheriff has his writings and his sureties. He likes a visible end to a visible day. Here is the choreography that turns storm into truce. At the cross, both sides say form words after the sheriff. We find sureties to keep the peace for a year and a day. You do not embroider. Form is safety. The sheriff enrolls names and sums. The mayor copies them to the borough book. Paper multiplies your courage. The arbiter sewn from each side set a day within the octave to refresh the award and threaten amercements if lampoons breathe. A poor box penny is named from both houses. It will be paid publicly at high mass. The beadle posts a short ban: no night walking, no pots, no horns on pain of stocks. Rough music dies quickest when it is told it will be boring to perform. If the sheriff leaves one thing, it is recognizances under a larger sum than you like. Swallow it. You bought your day back with coin you were already saving for worse. You also bought a season in which Jeffrey must keep his clever hands in his own pockets, or pay for his cleverness where it hurts him most, his father's chest. What if the sheriff had come with harder paper, with an indictment already framed by men Jeffrey had drunk into service? Then your work would have been the same, only louder. Produce yourself at once. Do not let the capias ride twice. Main prize early. Plead not to the romance, but to the writ. Split quarrel from felony, insist on view, and make the county work for its theory. Sheriffs, like storms, lose interest in cases that do not justify drama. By compline, the parish feels sheepish. Boys have no song to take to bed. Men have bonds to mind. Women have broth to cool. You are sore poorer by a mark and richer by a ledger full of names that stood when it mattered. That is kin-making operating under stress. God-kin spoke sureties, counted chirographs, prevented a second act, tithing closed ranks. The guild noticed who paid. The beadle discovered he prefers order to Jeffrey. You go home ordinary on purpose. No victory feast, a pan of pottage, shoes by the hearth, toes in. You put the sheriff's enrollment behind your pilgrim badge and say the list names, sums, dates. Tomorrow you will show your face where you always do, at the bench, at the oven, at the well. You teach the village the new story by enacting it. The storm passes not because love was right, but because process was better. Love supplied the rope, process made it strong. You did not let a hue and cry become a legend. You forced it to become an entry. The difference is a life. A day bought with bonds is not yet a life. Storms quiet, neighbors remember. Geoffrey's cousins put their pots away without promising never to find them again. If you want peace to last longer than a recognizance, you must turn truce into settlement tidy, public and dull. And if dullness won't take, you must leave well, so the road swallows a song and spits it out as silence 2 parishes on. Close the old wound with banns and blessing. If consistory has adjudged you, married and ordered solemnization, the path is set. Make a public wedding of what the porch and bed already made law. If there is no decree but the air still hums with farmer, the cure is the same. You are not asking permission, you are asking the parish to tidy its book. Choose the curate, not the crowd. Pick the church where the vicar likes order more than anecdotes. If your own priest is peevish, ask the archdeacon's commissary to write a short line allowing solemnization extra parochium outside the parish for peace. Run the banns right. 3 Sundays clear and present in both parishes if custom requires. Tell the clerk to write the names plainly. No capers with by-names that invite a rhyme. If an impediment is whispered kin-season, someone spoke before, ask at once for a dispensation where the law allows it. Better a fee than a feud. Set the hour to starve theatre prime in winter after high mass in summer when bellies are thinking of stew. Invite witnesses of good fame. Invite the church wardens. Invite your sureties. They have money on your quiet. Make the act heavy and the feast light. Candle at the gate, handfast in the porch mass. If Lent doesn't say no, a poor box coin from both houses. Breakfast is bread, cheese, broth. A capon if you must, but no pipers. No printed verse on the door. No posies declaimed by clerks. A marriage that boasted at dinner will be digested into scandal by supper. Discipline the gifts. Anyone who would give you a song may give you a faggot for the woodpile instead. Anyone who would give you a brooch may give you yeast. This is not hair-shirt piety, it is future-proofing. Trinkets become exhibits, bread becomes breakfast. Choreograph the leave-taking. Shake hands at the porch, not the ale bench. The last face you want on your wedding day is a beadle's. You go home by the long street, not the narrow one where pans remember the tune from last month. If a defamation suit hangs off the edge of your mourning, finish it that week. Demand amend the honourable, now the liar at your door with the candle and the words set by the court. The village will take that theatre instead of the one Geoffrey rehearsed. Terms that keep enemies bored. Truce is a rope. Settlement is knots in it. You make knots with terms everyone understands and nobody wants to pick at because picking costs coin. Refresh the recognizance. Before the mayor or steward, renew the bond to keep the peace for a year and a day. Increase the sum just enough to sting and split it into 2 sureties so your friends feel useful. Name no more enemies than you must. The fewer names, the fewer mouths that will spit later. Arbitration on tap. Bring your 2 arbiters together, each sidesman, and extend the chirograph with 1 line. If lampoons drums or night walking arise, the parties submit to a ward within 3 days. That gives the street a door to push the quarrel through before it spills into the lane. Mutual chores as treaty. Sign up together for watch on St. John's Eve. Carry candles together at the Corpus Christi procession. Pledge a bushel of malt each to the church ale. Useful people are hard to hate and harder to prosecute. You are teaching the parish to associate your names with labour, wages and paths. Keep to ordinary routes and hours. Enemies feed on surprise your shadow at the wrong door, your step after curfew. Settlement is pattern. Same bench on Thursdays, same bread at the oven, same cap on your head. If someone says night walker 6 neighbors should be able to say no. He was turning the spit at the Guildhall. Starve the song. Boys need a refrain. Take it away. No grand gestures. No public quarrels with men who cannot spell their insults. No answering of a ballad with a better one. When the alehouse asks for a tune, you pay for the psalm. Quiet ledger of kindness. Once a month, wipe a chalk line on a poor neighbour's slate. Once a quarter, lay 2 billets on Geoffrey's father's woodpile and never speak of it. Kindness that looks like maintenance earns you a second act. Kindness that looks like weather makes a man argue with the sky. Throw away the fuse. Burn or bury any letters that still breathe. Give the posy ring a witness nick at the goldsmiths logged in the warden's book. Retire your herb codes to the garden. You need no more devices, you need receipts. If Geoffrey cannot bear boredom, let him be noisy alone. Each noise he makes against the grain of recognizance and chirograph is a coin paid into your quiet. When settlement won't stick, leaving well. Sometimes a parish refuses to grow up. A cousin discovers appetite, a sheriff discovers zeal, a curate discovers conscience on the very day you needed custom. Then the right answer is not a bigger bond, but elsewhere. Leave without theatre and leave completely. Collect papers before you pack. From the vicar, the testimonium bands called, marriage solemnized, penance if any performed. From the guild, a brief note of quarterage paid, and your craft standing good. From the mayor, a certificate of main prize, satisfied, and recognizance not forfeited. From your godfather, or a confraternity warden, a commendation, not prose. Just name craft, parish, and sober. Settle every due. Pay rent to the day. Leave the stall swept. Return the watch staff you borrowed in winter. Present the tithing man with your headpenny and thank him. A single unpaid pottle is the seed of a saga that will grow legs and follow you. Disperse the brittle things. Give the cat to the widow, the goat to Joan's cousin, the rushlights to the church chest. Sell nothing that looks like flight. Gift what looks like tidying. A yard with order around a locked door tells a different story from a scoured room and a broken latch. Choose a destination like a clerk. Not the nearest village news travels by hedge. Not the largest city apparatus buy beer there. A market town, one riding away that shares your saint but not your gossip. A place where the curate is methodical, the beadle lazy, and the guild has room for one more hand if the hand turns up early. Travel as ordinary people do. Market day, outward pack. Light badge visible if you kept your pilgrim shell, and no convoy that looks like romance. If you must part company on the road, you part at chapels, not at hedges. The boy who sees everything will have nothing to rhyme. Arrive like furniture. Go first to the church porch and put your names to the parish book. Pay headpenny, offer 2 candles. Ask the tithingman where to stand on watch. Hire a bench corner from a hosteler. Set out tools before you set out tales. Within a fortnight present at the guild with the wardens, note and pay quarterage. Within a month, stand with the light in a procession. Within 6 weeks, be godkin to someone else's baby with a christening loaf, modest and hot. Change nothing that doesn't need changing. change what does. If your by name sings in the next parish, shorten it to your craft. If your hat spoke too loudly where you came from, wear a plainer one. You are not hiding. You are boring yourself on purpose. Leave behind a fuse cutter. Before you go, ask your arbiters to close their award with a final line: parties gone to their labour, silence kept, or immersement due. Give Mother Tib a small coin to sit on any ballad that tries to hatch. Tell the vicar that anyone asking after you should be shown the testimonium, and no more. Carry one sentence for strangers. When the new parish's beadle asks who you are, say, "Ask the book." He will. The book will answer in a hand that says process instead of poetry. If Geoffrey tries to export his zeal, he will find friction. A sheriff with no fee in the case, a curate who likes seals, a guild warden who likes Jews, a tithing man who likes sleep. Malice does not travel well when paper does. What settlement feels like? Not triumph. Not a ballad with a decent ending. Settlement feels like work that stays done. Bans, read names, entered bonds, written slates, wiped doors shut at the right hour. Herb bundles that mean nothing now but stew. You have made the parish your clerk, and clerks, however they grumble, prefer finishing. If you stayed, the lane learns to point past your door without an anecdote attached. If you left the new street, learns to nod before it asks. Either way, your love turns from event into furniture, a table that holds meals, a bed that holds sleep, a ledger with more totals than stories. The glamour you feared was always someone else's. The safety you bought is yours. It cost you coin pride and a fondness for tunes. It repays you with hours unremarked. You keep them as you kept everything else on purpose. Peace has a way of asking for rent. You have bands behind you, bonds in the mayor's. Book a lane that has learned boredom at last. And still the danger now is inside a look that lingers too long at market. An old letter found where it should have been paced. A silence that tastes like yesterday. Jealousy is not a medieval vice. It is a human climate. If you mean to keep a marriage floating, you need treaties about money beds, visitors, penance and words that make a storm spend itself against planks you built before the thunder. Money in jars, not in moods. Begin with coin because hunger speaks first and worst. Keep 4 jars on the chest and name them aloud when you count. Rent dues, light and loaves, peace. Rent is for roof and plot. Dues for quarterage, tithe, watch fines, and guild pennies. Light and loaves buys candles and bread, so no quarrel gets to pretend it started from piety or hunger. Peace is the quarrel fund, the coin that pays a poor box after a sharp tongue, a small immersement, a mediator's beer. Add a tally for each jar split sticks with notches that match your reckoning, and keep your halves in different hands. She holds rent, you hold dues. Light and loaves hangs by the hearth where a neighbour can see it and stop a slander with a nod. Peace sits in the linen press, ribboned and silent. Count together at the quarter and say the numbers out loud. Jealousy loves maths done in secret. When a gift arrives, eggs from a godsib, a billet from a former enemy say, where it goes before it starts a story. Into light you tell the child and the child says it again. The house learns to speak accounting, and envy finds itself shouted down by the jar. Beds and boundaries. Canon calls it the debitum conjugal, the marital debt, which is a cold phrase for a warm duty you owe one another. Kindness with bodies as well as bread. But kindness loves rules. Agree seasons of abstinence the church expects. Lent Advent eves of great feasts, and make them yours, not grudges you throw like stones. Agree also sick days after childbirth, in fever, when grief has eaten sleep. A debt paid by force throws the roof off. A debt offered with notice and refusals honored builds rafters. Beds carry heat and news. Keep the sleeping place ordered, the stone warmed and turned by the one who is angry last. The rushes changed on Fridays regardless of tempers. The cap placed on the chest lid, not the peg on nights that are no nights, so the other knows to be tender and not suspicious. If you quarrel at compline, appoint the stone an arbiter. Whoever holds it speaks. Whoever does not listens. You pass it back and forth until words stop sprinting and learn to walk. Do not hide in piety. If you choose abstinence for a season beyond the church's, list fasting from beds to settle tempestues and end date, and mark it with a candle at the cross so the house can call the truce over without shame. Doors keys and the visitor treaty. Jealousy thrives on surprise. Agree a visitor treaty in peace so you can enforce it in weather. 3 keys in play. Outer door chest letters. Outer door a short list of knockers. Welcome past curfew. Midwife, godkin, beadle, priest in peril. Everyone else tomorrow. The chest, 2 keys, 1 each, and no opening alone. If something must be fetched, call and fetch together. Letters. Any folded scrap that comes shall be read aloud before the rushlight by both, and then destroyed, torn to fibers, and boiled into paste for the hearth. If one of you must keep a paper testimonium reckoning, it goes into the book sleeve by the pilgrim badge, not under straw where dust grows tails. Make a porch rule, no screens with strangers. If a trader must speak in sight of other eyes, the oven queue, the guild porch, the market cross. A conversation behind a cloth is a lampoon waiting to hatch. A conversation at the bench is a ledger entry, confession without catastrophe. The seal of confession saves you from priests, not from consequences. A confessor may not act on your secret. He also may not rescue you with it. Choose a distant confessor for sharp sin sown, whose dinner table contains no cousins, and a parish confessor for the slow repairs of life. Do not use confession to frighten your spouse by proxy. Father told me becomes a cudgel that turns penance into politics. If a relapse has happened, an old letter not fully dead, a meeting too long by the mill, you tell the truth small and whole, not grand and ragged. When, where, who saw, what ends now, what you will do, so it cannot regrow. Letter burned, path changed, go between refused, recognizance renewed if needed. Own the verb, I did not, if any were hurt. Offer penance, you can do a poor box coin, 3 Fridays of abstinence, a pilgrim mile to a nearby shrine with your spouse beside you, not alone. If the truth will pass through court, no matter what you do, you choose the court better the archdeacons than the alehouses. You bring your witnesses and your minutes and refuse to make the parish write your verse. The jealousy ledger. Not every sting means a snake. Keep a jealousy ledger like any other. When the thought bites, write date hour trigger and one mundane cause that could also explain it late at the oven queue long. Cap a rye wind up. Ribbon in the chest, gift returned. 2 columns grow patterns to watch and patterns to laugh at. You don't show this book to the world. You show it to each other when tempers are not already at boil, and you let the ridiculous entries do half your scolding for you. Guard against the most medieval temptation of all defamation with virtue's mask. Saying cuckold or whore remains actionable. The archdeacon still finds tongues that pretend correction while practicing calumny. In your own house, forbid those words as you forbid smoke under the hood. You may accuse an act, you do not name a state. Household arbitration. When quarrels grow tall, shrink them with form. Appoint 2 arbiters of your own roof, an elder woman who can scowl softly, a godfather with a steady jaw. Keep a chirograph in the book sleeve with blanks you can fill. Who speaks first? What must be returned? What alms is paid? What words are never said again? Cut and sign it. Tuck half with the pilgrim badge and hand half to the arbiters. A written end is a blessed thing. It frees the next day to be ordinary. Have a peace bell in the house, the little clapper that once called the child to milk. Either may ring it once in a quarrel, and everyone stops for the length of a psalm. Not a weapon, a breath. When it hangs mute for a week, you praise the house aloud. Relapse the hedge and the hand. Relapse is not always a bed. Often it is a hand reaching for an old habit. Mother Tibbs stare, a folded scrap, a market heap left too generous too often. You cut hedges to prevent it. Change routes. Not lovers go by the bridge, not the ford. Stand at another stall. Retire devices you loved no more. Rue for regret. If you must say not today, you say it with late loaves, not herbs. Bring work into the hour where temptation liked to live. If the relapse was larger, you pick the punishment, not the parish. Candle at the church door done early, a mile to Walsingham together. The peace jar emptied where neighbours can see coin meat box and no theatre hung on it. Shame handled swiftly rots less. Telling a truth without breaking the roof. Truth is a blade. You wrap the hilt. Speak it at a table, not a bed. In the daylight, not after lamps. With the stone between you to keep turns honest. Say the thing and stop, no history, no smear. Then say the plan, I will not pass that door. This letter is now paste. Here are the names who may knock after curfew. The dues jar will show every farthing from now to Lammas. Invite witness to the plan. Joan may keep the key to the chest for a month. The warden may write your nick on the ring in his book. A truth that changes logistics breaks less wood than a truth that only stings. Finally, bless the ordinary. Jealousy hates the list. So keep it wicks rung, rail spaced, rent tallied, watch kept bread scored. Praise one another out loud for useful acts. It is hard to accuse the hand that turned the stone or wrung the wick in time. It is also hard to relapse when your day is full. None of this is romance. It is craft. But you have learned by now that craft is what allows love to keep a roof over it without catching fire. A house that floats does so on agreements you can quote and habits you can do when you are tired. In the end, you discover that keeping a life is the same craft as keeping a night small. Obediences, good paper, steady hands. Love that once ran on knives and bands must learn another grammar. Wills, dowers, bequests, guardianships. So that when you lay your heads down for the last time, no one needs a ballad or a lawsuit to explain you. Begin with the will, because death hurries even tidy people. In these centuries, a will mostly speaks over movables, money stock, household gear. Land follows custom burgage in towns, often may be devised. Some fields are held by copy of court roll and pass by surrender in the manor court. Great freeholds cling to heirs and dower as the common law prefers. You do not solve every statute. You map what you have. Sit at the board and list it plain. Household bed chest linens, the best pot, the peels for the oven tools with names in the handles. Livestock and stores, cow, pig, hens, grain malt, 2 cheeses maturing. Trade bench molds, alls, a half-made order that will become coin. Books and tokens, salter a ring with its witness, nick a tally, half a pilgrim badge. Debts owing, debts owed. Write both and forgive what you can afford to forgive. It buys your executor's peace and your memory clean air. Choose executors as you once chose witnesses. Steady, literate, if possible, more sensible than fond. One from each side of the kin web, if the web has sides. A warden of your craft, if your bench still smells of glue. Give them power to sell movables, to pay debts and funerals. Give them 1 clear penny each for pains and a cloak if you can spare it. Name overseers, the godfather who stayed when others slept, the church warden who knows the beadle's moods, to stand behind executors if a cousin grows creative. The bequests should look like your lives, not like a mask. Keep 3 baskets, piety kin trade. Piety is not the flinging of coin into distance. It is the steady purchase of remembrance. Set a mortuary, the customary best beast or a fair commutation to your parish so no one quarrels over the rector's due at the graveside. Endow small things. People touch a candle before Our Lady on your dirge night. 6 torches borne by neighbours at burial. A dole of bread and small beer at the door. A year mind and a month mind if the box will bear it. Your name on the bedroll so it can be read when harvest has forgotten you. Great folk found chantries, prudent folk by prayers, and the habit of saying their names kindly. Kin comes next, and kin includes the souls you made on purpose. Godsibs, fosterlings, apprentices. Daughters do better with marriage portions named in coin and gear than with promises. Sons do better with premiums to a master and the tools that fit their hands. A bastard cannot inherit your fee where the common law is sour, but he can take your movables and the best of your care. Write his name without a flinch and place him with a guardian who has bread and decency both. If you have stepchildren, use words that persuade as a daughter, as a son. The parish understands where the law pretends it does not. Trade wants a future as plain as yours wanted. Leave the bench and moulds to a journeyman with a date by which he must take a partner or surrender to the guild. Give the book of orders to the warden, so customers are not left with ghosts. Set aside 2 shillings to mend the guilds. Beermen remember the hand that kept their dead from wobbling. Now set the roof for the survivor. If you go first, your wife keeps dowrer third for life where custom runs that way. Better still, if you made a jointure earlier, recite it now. Right. Let her abide in the house for a year and a day, without let, so no eager heir snatches the keys before the tears dry. If there was a child alive and heard to cry, the law may give a husband courtesy in some places. Do not make either take to pleading name the use, name the bed, name the years. Tie a small rent to the house from your copyhold if the Lord consents. Lords like custom and custom likes neat lines. Guard against deathbed cleverness. Make a will while your wits are cool. Add a codicil later if you must. If you are taken short, a non-cuppative will spoken before credible witnesses can move small goods, but it breeds quarrels. Better to put the parish chest to its ancient use, a copy of your will under 3 locks, priest, church warden, and your sworn friend, each with a key, so no cousin improves it with a knife. When the end is near, make peace the size of a loaf. Send small alms for the slights you remember. Call in the promises you can keep. Say the names of those you wronged and ask bread for their door. The best purgatory shortener is the little reconciliations done while the cat is still warm by the fire. And the children, what do you tell them? Not the ballad. Children deserve sequence, not scandal. Tell them we chose, we were careful, we paid the parish, learned to be bored. Teach them the phrases that saved you. Ask the book. Show them the ban's entry, the marriage line, the recognizances, the arbitration chirograph with its toothed edge, the guild list with your quarterage ticked. Fold the posy ring inside a story about patience, not hunger. Leave them the recipe for bread, the pattern for rush plat, the trick of warming a stone and turning it. Legend is a lie that grows. Craft is a truth that breeds. Memories live best when they work. Tie yours to useful objects. The ladle with the burn you both learned. The staff with the 3 pricks that once told a messenger he was honest. The herb plot where rosemary means nothing now but lamb and Sunday. Write a brief life on a scrap name's places, the saints' days that mattered without embroidery, and leave it with the will. Posterity forgives boredom and mistrusts spice. Make funerals as you made weddings, order, not opera. Wash, shroud, wake with psalms. Let neighbors keep the long hush with you. Pay the bell to tell the parish the truth, one slow rope, then rest. If someone tries a wicked tune on the way to the yard, the godmother you chose a decade ago will still know how to still a pan. What of the love itself? Now it has grey at the temples. It must learn andante after years of allegro. Sit at the door together and inventory the day wick rung, jar counted, hedge mended, quarrel unraised. Say thanks where once you said fear, once you spoke in devices, now speak in lists and blessings. Once you hid your names, now lend them godkin, surety, neighbor, witness. There will be a last winter when one of you walks less and the other learns the trick of handing the ember across a smaller space. You make then a household treaty of leaving, who fetches the parish clerk, where the keys are, which jar pays for the dole, what words the other wants at the graveside, no sermon. Psalm 130. 6 torches, not 8. Bread hot. It is not morbid. It is tenderness that knows its job. When the time comes and one of you is gone, grief will try the old mischiefs, legend the pretty lie, and ash, the bitterness that eats wood. Refuse both. Pour your sorrow into doing, finish the bequests. Mind the year. Mind warm the poor with the wood you promise. Teach a child the trick with the stone and the breath. Speak your story plain to any who ask, and short to those who don't. If a boy asks for romance, give him bread and a list. He will grow into the truth when he learns to pay rent. At last, you will have made of a forbidden thing a household, and of a household a village's habit. Names in books, jars with labels, a bench that keeps turning out good work, bread that rises on time, a fall of light at the parish altar that says someone loved and left the place better. No legend, no ash, just the clean arithmetic of a life managed without malice, remembered without embroidery, and passed on in working order. That is the only triumph the century guarantees, and it is enough.